Welcome to the Mike Miller Show.
Happy Wednesday, America. Happy Wednesday, Jessica. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm good. We had a little Wizard of Oz stuff going on outside, but winds blowing the rain sideways. But I kind of like weather. Like I said, I grew up on the south side of South Shore of Lake Michigan, and that's what it is. But anyway, so be it. All right, so stuff to talk about today, but I want to start with a couple of just what I think are humorous things. I am going to send you an image. I put this up on Facebook a little while ago, and people are just going crazy, having a good time with this. So, you know, Cher had this big glitzy fundraiser for Hillary.
Okay.
Right. So imagine Hillary, in her wardrobe, closet, whatever she carries with her, and she's saying to herself, what to wear to Cher's fundraiser? Yeah, I think this will work out just fine.
What is it? I didn't see
I
it.
just sent it to you.
Oh,
it should be there now.
Oh, okay. It totally looks like a grandma.
What the hell is that?
It's like a grandma moo like thing.
It's like a combination of things to me. I mean, it looks like a grill cover, maybe.
That's true. This totally looks like a grandma moo and then she's wearing dress pants underneath it, because normally grandmas don't wear the dress pants underneath the moo.
Susie, Cultural Limits? She suggested that her grandmothers, both of them, could make stuff more attractive than this. I mean, I was thinking too, like maybe she volunteered to run a barbecue grill, and so she's got those big ass pockets, like she can put oven mitts and tongs and stuff in there. And then I even thought maybe like it has like that foil lining in case she gets too close and it catches on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell, you know?
It is interesting. It's an interesting choice.
You guys, obviously, pictures don't play well on the radio, as it were. But you guys gotta look this up. I mean, you have to Google Hillary's Hillary's outfit Cher fundraiser, because this thing is all over the internet right now. It just looks like almost like there's like a paper doll thing. Remember those? What did you do? You like bent the little tabs
the little
on
tabs. Yes, I remember playing with those.
Because see, that doesn't even look three-dimensional right there.
It does look pretty flat.
I mean, not like looking at Hillary from the front is real three-dimensional anyway. But I'm sorry, and I know it's not nice to do that, but that is pretty funny, and people are just going crazy with it because we need a diversion. You know,
I'm sure.
I mean, I'm just like so over it. You know, we talked about this last week. I mean, I love politics. You know, Frank Camp calls it a Super Bowl. Not quite that for me, but I love it. And I have to force myself to pay attention to some of this stuff now, because obviously I write about it every day. Speaking of diversions, do you remember when, at first I think you thought I was kidding you. And this goes back at least a year, maybe longer. I told you about this monument. This plaque in Chicago.
Oh, yeah. No, I was like, this is a real thing.
And I sent you a picture, I think, right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, for you guys that don't know what we're talking about, because obviously I haven't said anything about it, but the spot where Barack first kissed Michelle, there's a piece of, I don't know if it's granite or what the hell it is, but a big rock, and then there's like a what would it be, brass? I guess plate on the front of it, and it, at this spot, and no, that's a real deal. So
I was in Chicago. I should have gone to the plaque and taken a picture.
You should have. You maybe rubbed it, for good
For
luck
good
or
luck.
something. But anyway, in that vein, you see the new movie that's coming out?
I know.
It's called South Side with You, and it opens Friday.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at Variety. When Barack Obama and Michelle Robinson went on their first date in 1989, I did not know this. They went to see Do the Right Thing. Was that a Spike Lee thing?
Yeah, that's a Spike Lee joint.
Joint, yeah. Anyway, the apparently the producer is Richard Tanny. He says enough material from interviews and anecdotes to make a feature film, and it opens Friday. And he says we know they went to Do the Right Thing in its opening weekend, and they ran into a partner at the law firm. This is gripping already, isn't it? And they had their kiss outside the Baskin Robbins. There's where the monument is. And so I was able to take the linchpins of this date that were factual and then imagine what they talked about, Jessica, and use creative license to get the two characters connecting and falling in love. I don't know about you, but I've got that on my calendar for Friday. So he does say, I did not know this, and this is the conflict in the movie. Michelle, at first, quote, was not interested in Barack, but she gave him one day to prove himself. And doggone it, Jessica, by her own admission, he says he did just that. So to me, that had to be the making of a romantic drama, the sort of classic boy chases girl story. Can you believe it?
Can I believe that they're making a movie about
Oh,
it?
I actually can.
Yeah.
But
He's everybody's hero.
he's everybody's hero. I missed the George Bush Laura. I forget what her name was. I missed that one. But so anyway, Miramax picked it up. John Legend, he's executive producer. This is a big deal.
Wow.
Yeah. You gonna see it? Me neither. I'm looking at the actor and actresses, or actor and actress. She looks more like Mishy Mooch, as it were, than the other guy looks like. Well, you can tell that's who he's supposed to be playing. Although they should have put like plastic ears on him, and I think it would have it would have worked out a little bit better. Anyway, so you guys, that's our movie update. South Side with You opens Friday, hopefully at a theater near you. So Kellyanne Conway is.
No.
I've never understood this woman. She used to be on Fox News quite a bit several years back. She's a pollster, has her own company. Always seemed just a little bit. Airhead is probably too strong of a term, but I just didn't get it. I didn't get why this woman was viewed with maybe not reverence, but like her opinion mattered enough that they would have her on television. Well, in the latest shakeup of the Trump campaign, she is like the third campaign manager in what do I want to say, 2 months, several months, certainly since Corey Lewandowski and then Paul Manafort and now Kellyanne Conway is the campaign manager. We have a clip of Kellyanne. This is short. It's like 48 seconds long, but this is the essence of the what I like to think of as the emperor's new clothes mentality of the entire kind of Planet Trump group. So let's listen to. I don't even want to say what she says. We'll talk about it afterwards. This is Kellyanne Conway talking about Trump and where he stands right now.
Polling numbers for Donald Trump are looking pretty bad, aren't they, at the moment?
Them now. Just the cherry-picked polling numbers that are put out there by media outlets that are also bent on his destruction. Donald Trump performs consistently better in online polling, where a human being is not talking to another human being about what he or she may do in the election.
Why is that, do you think?
It's because it's become socially desirable, especially if you're a college-educated person in the United States of America, to say that you're against Donald Trump. The hidden Trump vote in this country is a very significant proposition.
Have you been able to put a number on that
Yes.
group? What do you think that is?
I can't discuss it.
Oh, come on.
No, it's a project we're doing internally. I call it the undercover Trump voter, but it's real.
Now that is incredible right there because I'm sending you something right.
Okay.
I can't do that multitasking thing as well as you can. Anyway, this is a woman who owns a polling company, her own polling company. And first of all, she's either lying or woefully misinformed, being disingenuous at the very least. These are polls that are put up by media companies. No, I mean, media outlets, media companies, New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, NBC, ABC, on and on and on, contract with polling organizations and pay them handsomely to do polling. Secondly, Quinnipiac, Real Clear Politics, the polls that make up that average, these are not media companies. She's basically telling this guy that stuff's all nonsense. And by the way, she's saying that because every one of them shows Trump losing. Yet she says he does better with online polling, which is completely ridiculous because one need only remember the debates, and then Trump the next day would puff out his chest and said, every poll I see, I won. Well, I mean, when he got his ass handed to him a couple of times, referencing polls like Drudge, right, where people can it's like voting on The Voice. You just hit the thing I don't know, as many times, if you can do it as many times as you want, but you have an interest in doing that, right? And people that support people, be it Donald Trump or Hillary or whomever, Bernie back in the day, and the Republican candidates, they want to do that, right? They want to go online and they want to puff up those poll numbers. So for her to suggest this stuff is just incredible. And of course, all of these people really believe this stuff. They really believe that there's this kind of secret underground that is just lying in wait, kind of rubbing their palms together, snickering to themselves that come November 8th and before that, I actually think early voting starts September 9th, somewhere I saw that. But I just don't think that's going to happen, Jessica.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see, I guess. I think it's really close. I don't know what's going to happen. I do think that there's definitely people that are like, hey, I'm going to vote for Trump, but I'm not going to say anything because I've talked to people that do that. And because it's not popular, and it's like, hey, I had a sign out on my yard and somebody came and like ripped it up. So it's like, I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm sure there's that amount of people, but I don't know if that's a majority or if that's going to help.
No, I think you're right. I mean, in fact, I know you're right. There are people like that on the other side too. My wife, now she says, my wife, I mean, staunch Democrat, she thinks, I think she's actually, won't admit that either, a libertarian, but big Hillary fan, has been. But the last several months, I don't like either one of them, and they're both this, and I'm not interested in politics anymore. She'll break her neck getting to the polling booth to pull the lever for Hill, as she used to call her. So I mean, I think you have that on both sides. Yeah. And I get the thing. There's the people that are going to vote for Trump, but they don't want to be ridiculed by their friends and stuff. I suspect, and I know I've said it before, but I suspect you're right, as are others, in the sense that the popular vote will probably be closer than many polls suggest. And again, we're still a ways away, but I keep coming back to the same old thought that when you look the way the Electoral College vote lines up, and you look at historically over the last several cycles, even before election eve, you look at the probable balance of electoral votes on both sides of the ledger, you've got the Democrats sitting at somewhere like 230, 220, somewhere over 200, and you need 270. So there has to be a major breakthrough. That's why a Republican has to win Ohio, has to win Florida, probably has to win no, I would say now has to win Pennsylvania, and would behoove them to win states like Virginia and even Michigan. And if they, whoever it is, I don't know how many I just named, 5 maybe, but if they don't win 4 out of 5 of those states, they being the Republican candidate, they're toast. So, again, people, it's not a national election. National polls don't make a whole bunch of difference. It's 50 state elections. And that's just my opinion, but it was free. So that's about what it's worth. So anyway, Kellyanne surprised me that she would denounce polls and this nonsense of Hillary, that the media is cherry picking polling numbers that are put out by media outlets that are so hell bent on Donald Trump's destruction, and they are. But the nonsense as it relates to the polls is, as I said, nonsense, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I never put a whole lot of stock in polls,
No.
at all, especially when in 2012 a bunch of polling was going on and they were like, oh, Mitt Romney's gonna win, and I was like, no, he's not, he really isn't. and but that was my opinion. I didn't have anything to back it up, but it turned out to be right.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agreed at the time. Ann Coulter, have you been paying attention, or have you seen this thing? Well, when did this first surface? I just heard it last night. Trump is now suggesting that he very likely will, quote, soften his position on the whole immigration thing. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I mean, that's all anybody's been able to talk about.
Yeah. Well, but think about that. This guy, his rallying cry, way back in June of last year at Trump Tower, when he announced his candidacy, we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. How many times have we heard him say that vociferously?
Mm-hmm.
And that has been kind of that's his rallying cry. And, other than this pretense that he's going to bring millions of jobs back into the country, I just heard him say that again live today. Other than that, this, as he chants with his audiences, what are we going to do? We're going to build a wall. Who's going to pay for it? Mexico. I mean, that has been it for him, right? But yet here he is. He had a meeting with, as he said, when Hannity asked him last night, several, I don't know how many, but Hispanic leaders, and came back and said that there definitely could be some softening of his position. Certainly could be softening, he said. Anyway, Ann Coulter, who other than, dare I say, Trump butt boy Sean Hannity, has been the biggest sellout in the media. Well, they're equal, I guess. But Ann Coulter, for one, is not happy with Mr. Trump, with his softening revelation. So let's listen to Ann talking with our pal, Chris Thrill Up My Leg Matthews, about this. This is interesting.
Trump has insisted that illegal immigrants have got to go. According to the Texas Tribune today, Trump told Sean Hannity in a pre-taped town hall that he was open to softening in laws that deal with illegal immigrants. He said, quote, there certainly can be a softening because we're not looking to hurt people. It comes after an interview with Bill O'Reilly last night in which Trump said he would mimic President Obama's policies. Take a listen.
We're going to obey the existing laws. Now, the existing laws are very strong. The existing laws, the first thing we're going to do, if and when I win, is we're going to get rid of all of the bad ones. As far as everybody else, we're going to go through the process. What people don't know is that Obama got tremendous numbers of people out of the country. Bush, the same thing. Lots of people were brought out of the country with the existing laws. Well, I'm going to do the same thing.
What's Trump saying to the American people right now about immigration? What did all that up to? How's it different than Obama?
How's it different from all the candidates you just beat? I go through. That's one of the 5 talking points every politician says.
He's going to throw out he's going to deport the felons.
Well, it's very different from the actual policy, but they all say that, and it just sounds very consultant to me. This could be the shortest book tour ever if he's really softening his position on immigration, but I don't think he is.
Let me ask you a question about illegal immigration. I think, you know, we don't do it anymore, but NBC News would always show those pictures from down in Texas or Arizona or somewhere on the border of the Canadian-Mexican border, and they would show people, desperate people racing across when the lights were off, and they would see them coming in, they'd see them running the road to try to get a ride in a truck somewhere or something. How do you stop that? How do you stop that? Because what that is are men mostly racing across the border to try to get a job in the United States, which they know is going to be there somewhere. Somebody in Chicago in a restaurant or somewhere say, I got a job for you if you can get up here. How do you stop the illegal hiring? Because he never mentions that. Trump never mentions it.
No, I wish he would.
Isn't that the heart of it?
That's what I wish you were talking about now. And plus, you know, H-1B visas, plus people losing their jobs, plus Kate Steinle again. I mean, why? There are only so many things you can talk about. Why are we talking about softening the lies of lawbreakers? I think this is a mistake. It sounds like it's coming from consultants.
Has he lost his confidence?
I don't think so. But to answer your last question,
you're saying two things. You think he may have softened up here on what got him this far?
No, I think this is a mistake. I thought he's made other mistakes, and I've given him constructive criticism when I think he makes a mistake. I think this is a mistake. But I want to answer your last question.
Does he take your criticism?
I haven't had a lot, but yeah. No, he does listen to people. And I'm not advising him or anything, but I did write this magnificent book. But to answer your last question...
You still trust him?
This isn't the same. Yes, this is not the same as either Hillary or Obama. To compare it to what they're doing is preposterous. I don't know why he just said that. It's crazy. They are fighting the deportations of rapists. They're fighting the deportations of murderers. Hillary says she's going to open the border. She's going to amnesty everyone. She's going to quadruple the number of Muslim refugees. So to say there's no difference, I think, is crazy. I just don't understand why he's going to these really tired talking points that both Democrat and Republican politicians use. No, that isn't what's going to win.
I would guess why. I'm going to ask
he's panicking.
He looked into the abyss about a week or two ago.
That's right.
He dumped his people and he got nervous. He said, I better try something different. Along comes Kellyanne Conway, who's a traditional pollster.
Well, I don't know who's giving him the advice, but this is definitely consultant-led advice, and it's not good advice. Should keep doing is what he's been doing. You're right. His three issues are obviously very appealing.
I think they work for his audience. I don't know if it works for the whole country.
Of course it does, and it works for blacks and Hispanics. They want jobs too.
Well, as a previous guest just said, he should be going out talking about trade. Richard Fowler says to talk about big cities with a lot of poor people.
His issues are incredibly popular, and no other politician
there were jobs.
That was kind of calm and reasoned, wasn't it? I think they both have. I think they both have a few points. Especially, you know, Matthews with he got scared, or at least there's some concern there, and he is listening a bit. A lot of what he's saying has Kellyanne Conway written all over it. But people like Coulter are frustrated. People out in the although, you know what, I talked about this on Facebook this morning on a couple of threads, and you already have Trump apologists just rushing to say, well, you know, the blah, 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 blah. I mean, and at least Ann Coulter is coming out and saying it's a mistake. You know, he shouldn't be doing this and whatever. By the way, her magnificent book that she talked about, for those of you not aware, shows you how far in the tank she is for Trump. The name of the book is In Trump We Trust.
Yeah,
underneath, underneath E Pluribus Awesome, and she's standing on the cover holding a Trump campaign sign. So, which is fine. I mean, it's completely fine. But I just have never understood how people like Coulter and Hannity's a hack, Laura Ingraham and others have just fallen so far for this guy. But we'll see what happens. I don't know. I guess I'd rather have Trump's even if he softens a bit, I'd rather have his immigration stuff out there than Hillary's. But I just don't know.
Well,
I don't know. Speaking of Hillary, I think we can do this. I have a couple of short clips I want to play. We got 5 minutes?
Yes.
Latest Hillary campaign ad is eerily reminiscent of something LBJ did more than 50 years ago. I don't really want to. Let's just play it. Time is short. Here's Hillary's new ad.
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
In times of crisis, America depends on steady leadership.
Knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously.
Clear thinking.
I know more about ISIS than the generals do, believe me.
And calm judgment.
And you can tell them to go themselves.
Because all it takes is one wrong move.
I would bomb the shit out of them.
Just one.
You heard the apparent missiles going off, right?
Yeah, I heard that. That's great.
Okay, now we have a short clip. This ran one time in 1964. Lyndon Johnson running against Barry Goldwater, Senator Barry Goldwater from Arizona, who was viewed by, we didn't call it the left back then, by the Democrats as just this complete hawk. And remember, this was in the middle of the Cold War. We had all this stuff going on with Cuba and the missile crisis. This ad ran one time. Let's listen to this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 8, 9.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
These are the stakes. To make a world in which all of God's children can live, or to go into the dark. We must either love each other, or we must die.
Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home.
And I should have prefaced it with, it's called Daisy, and the little girl that's sitting in this field counting is pulling petals off a daisy. And you heard the explosion, and of course, in the ad, you see the mushroom cloud. Those things are pretty similar, aren't they?
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
I think the other one is more dire, but I like it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, because it's 2016 versus this thing. But again, the stakes are too high, the announcer says, after the nuclear blast. And we have the narrator in the Hillary ad. All it takes is just one wrong move, just one. And then we hear the missiles launching. There are people, I think, that honestly believe that Donald Trump would take us to World War III. And there are also people that don't believe he will, but are pushing it because that's what you do in politics. But yeah, this notion that this guy is whack job and he cannot get anywhere near the nuclear launch code and so forth. I think part of it's effective, Jessica.
I think it is for some people, but it's I don't know. I mean, it's so over the top. I can't take it.
It is over the
seriously.
top, and I don't believe it either. I'm just saying it's this is what they do. And again, Barry Goldwater was the forerunner to Ronald Reagan, and Barry Goldwater was not a nut job, but they were very successful in painting him as such. And I don't know. We got a lot of time to go, and got to keep a lot of popcorn in the cupboard because there's going to be lots of stuff happening. But unfortunately, there won't be lots of stuff in this segment because we're already done with the first half hour. This is Mike Miller, Jessica Jane. We will be right back. Don't go away.
Would I be a good man? Would I be true to myself? Be true to you. The devil is...
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Doug, I never thought I could go back to school, but when it's this easy, it fits.
I'm right there with you, Jackie, taking classes, watching lectures in the living room on the iPad. It's not hard.
I can be a mom, make dinner, get my classwork done, and not miss a moment with my family. It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
Hey, it's Jackie Velasquez, and if Doug and I can do this, you can do this too. Higher education with Liberty University Online.
Find out more about completing your college degree at the world's largest Christian university, Liberty University. Get all the details right now. Grab your cell and dial pound 250. When prompted, say the keyword Liberty University.
Training champions for Christ since 1971, Liberty University Online. Find out more about learning online. Dial pound 250, then say the keyword Liberty University.
Liberty University Online with hundreds of degree programs to choose from. Call now, pound 250. Say the keyword Liberty University.
That's pound 250. Say keyword Liberty University.
A good man with the devil inside, and I'll be a good man without you.
Back then, Barry Goldwater, and today Donald Trump, very well, if elected, could lead to World War III. And I mentioned to Jessica that my late wife, which would be my prior wife, the morning of 9/11, said to me, this is the start of World War III. And I thought it was kind of silly at the time. But if you kind of look at everything that's happened, and of course, then you have the other side of the equation, which Jessica, you and I didn't talk about, but you got Putin wanting to restore the old Soviet Union.
That's true. That's
taking
true.
Crimea, and there's always still a threat to the Baltic states and everything. But this world is very, I think it's very precarious right now.
I definitely see that. I think that something's got to give at some point, and I don't know what is gonna be the trigger.
And the only reason it hasn't in the past, and this is before this asymmetrical warfare with radical Islam, but nuclear weapons that assured mutual destruction. So it's a scary deal, but I don't know. We'll see. Let's stick with Trump just a little bit. Slate, that's one of my faves, right?
Yep.
Slate, Salon, Rolling Stone, kind of my fave go-to liberal loony websites. Some more beating on Donald Trump. Headline, Trump's vision of Black America is a white supremacist fantasy. I did not realize it. And I beat up on Donald Trump quite a bit, Jessica, but I did not realize that his vision of Black America is a white supremacist fantasy. And, you know, this is a damned if you do and damned if you don't stuff. I remember having this conversation with Watson Prunier. For those of you who do not know Watson, conservative black fellow, very good friend of mine. I've actually had lunch with Watson. All these friends that we have online, right, we never see most of the time. But so Watson lives, I don't know, 40 miles down the road from me. But at any rate, we've had this discussion that white people, by and large, white conservatives, I should clarify that, are damned if they do and damned if they don't when it comes to race relations with Black America. I mean, just kind of before we dig into this a little bit, do you agree with that at all, Jessica?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't try to reach out you're racist. If you do, you're pandering and you're a racist.
Yeah.
And that's the gist. In southern Indiana, that would be just. That's the gist of this article. And who wrote this? I don't think it matters. I don't know who that is. Jamel Bowie. It's clear that Donald Trump's black outreach, and that's in quotes, isn't actual outreach to black communities. A Trump who wanted to reach black voters would speak to black churches, black colleges, and organizations like the NAACP. Jamel does have a point. Jamel is black, by the way. He's Slate's chief political correspondent, like the NAACP. He should have done that, although, if you remember, he was invited to speak during the Republican National Convention. And I think the date for that thing was out there well over a year before it happened. So I kind of gave him a break. I mean, had that not be going on, my lights just flickered, by the way. So if I go away, again, it's the internet and the Wizard of Oz stuff. But anyway, he should speak to black churches, black colleges, organizations like the NAACP and the Urban League. The actual Trump instead has made his pitch to lily white audiences in towns and neighborhoods with few black residents, and for good reason. Trump is never going to win more than a token percentage of black voters, and Jamel, he could speak to every black church in this country between now and the election, and I suspect he wouldn't do a whole lot better. If he wants the White House, he'll need to persuade as many white voters as possible. That is true. And a visible commitment to diversity is one way to win over a certain class of right-leaning suburban whites. So that's kind of the gist of his deal. That this is just kind of, kind of a token stab, what Trump has been saying as it relates to black people. Although the co-founder of Black Lives Matter, a quote, and somebody put this up, and I think I grabbed it this morning. Hillary Clinton, same thing. Hillary isn't interested in black lives. Hillary is interested in black votes, and that's the co-founder of Black Lives Matter. And I have said this for years. If Democrats believed back, and this goes back to the early 60s, we talked about LBJ. LBJ's War on Poverty, the Great Society, all that stuff. I mean, you people go back and read. I don't have it in front of me, and I can't even paraphrase anyway, but things that he said at the time, Lyndon Johnson, about black people, yet he would go on TV and say all the kind of stuff that he and Bobby Kennedy and all of them have said for decades, and then the War on Poverty and the whole bit. It's just that Democrats get away with it, Jessica. They really do. I know black conservatives say the same thing. They pander the crap out of black America, but it works for them.
It's true. It's true. I don't understand it.
I understand it to the extent that they have been very successful in convincing black people that we may not have given you everything that we've promised, but it's a hell of a lot better than the consequences of the evil white-controlled Republican Party. You think it's not good now, just keep those people around and it'll get even worse. They've been extremely successful at pushing that message on black America.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, in that message, I can understand that. It's more, I guess, I don't know, just not thinking for yourself kind of thing. I don't know, like just taking people's word for stuff. I don't get it.
Oh, it's almost brainwashing to an extent, or at least programming, right?
Yeah.
We're black, and again, we're stereotyping here, but let's just say in terms of the majority of black America, and I can say that with factual confidence, factual-based confidence, because just look at, even in Barack Obama's darkest hour as it relates to the polls, when he was way upside down in the low 40s, he still had the support of 95% of black America. So I can speak with, again, factually based confidence here. But it wins for them. And they are programmed to believe by their peers, if you will, their own folks, that we're black, we vote for Democrats. And if you don't vote for a Democrat, you're a traitor. I mean, look how white liberals, in addition to black liberals, look how they treat Allen West, Herman Cain, Clarence Thomas, to an extent Condoleezza Rice, right? Because these people aren't on the reservation, aren't on the plantation that they're supposed to be on. And I don't mean a plantation of the Old South. I mean the liberal plantation. They're not saying the things and believing the things that they're supposed to say and believe, Jessica, so they're traitors. And I think
the
that
Uncle Tom thing and all that.
Yeah, Uncle Tom. I mean, who was it? Louis Calypso. I know it was Malik Zulu Shabazz at one point called Barack Obama a buck dancing Tom. So, and you know what? As crudely as Trump said this whole, he said it again today, this "what the hell do you have to lose" thing.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen that, right?
Yeah, I've seen that.
He ticks through, the neighborhoods. He ticks through drugs, crimes, children born to single mothers. Everything he says is right, and I believe that the root cause is liberalism. Everything he says is right, and everything he says is right in terms of what the hell do you have to lose. That's probably not the best way to put it, but he's right.
He is right there. Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. I mean, it didn't work for Mitt Romney. It never works. It just does not work, and it's not working beyond about 22%, maybe 24% with Hispanics. And we have reached a point in this country where if a Republican presidential nominee, and I don't know what the number is, it's easily found out, but doesn't achieve a strong majority of the white vote in America, they have no prayer of being elected president. This can't happen. I may be talking myself into voting for Trump here today, Jessica, but if Hillary Clinton wins the White House, if Hillary Clinton, somewhere in between, wins the White House, it may be, never say forever, but it may be generational or decades before a Republican could ever win a White House again because of just the demographic change going on. I believe white people are a minority in this country right now, very slightly, but I think that happened. Did you see that whenever ago, earlier this year? When you throw everyone together, and that may not be true, and I may be half right in terms of births. Maybe it's births, but there's kind of a precipice. And again, like some of my liberal black pals, and two come to mind, would tell me I sound completely like David Duke right now. But and I'm not. I mean, it's just factual, and it's reality. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's worth a shot, I guess. I mean, I think it's something that at least he should say, even if it doesn't have a lot of
I think he should
success,
too. I think there are things he could do. I mean, Watson told us, because I asked him several times when he was on the show. I mean, dude, what do you think? And he said that conservatives should go into communities and demonstrate versus talking. Invest, build businesses. And there's risk there. So I don't know. Because there's a mentality, and it certainly is not just in urban black America or in the generally all people of color. There's a growing mentality in this country, and there's certainly a lot of white people that fall into this as well. This kind of growing, I don't even know that we necessarily have to call it an entitlement mentality. There certainly is that. Certain people feel they are entitled to stuff, but there is definitely this take care of me
Yeah, that is going on a lot.
mentality.
Yeah, that is going on a lot, and I find it in increasing amounts of communities.
Like a nanny state thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's interesting to see just other millennials that are like, oh, I can't believe this happened to me. The government should do something about that. I'm like, that's called being an adult. Stop it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're not 10 years old anymore. Get it together.
Well, look at all of the millennials living at home. You
Yep.
know?
Yep.
I know stories very close to me, not in this house, but yeah, it's just, and it'll be worse 4 years from now or 8 years from now, the next time a Republican maybe has a shot. So yeah, it's not a good thing. But yeah, it definitely need to reach out. I probably do some of what this guy said. Go into some communities, and maybe people, maybe it's not, maybe it's not being received real well. What the hell do you have to lose? But his point is well taken, and like I said, I believe he's right. I got to get to this first because I don't want to miss doing this. This is speaking of racism and issues. We have another clip. This is the last one of the day. I found this pretty amazing, and I put this up on IJR earlier. Let me read my headline. And I put it in quotes because it's his word. A white prejudiced man asked a black activist how to stop being racist. And their conversation is pretty incredible. We used conversation was beautiful. I don't know that I necessarily like that, but I thought, yeah, let's go with it. In the clip, let me set this up. Her name is Heather McGhee. She's president of Demos, or this is a foreign word, and I forget what it means, but Demos Action Committee. She's an activist. She's a black activist, but she's president of this organization. She's on the C-SPAN show Washington Journal as the guest, and they're taking calls. And this guy calls in and first speaks to the narrator. Let's listen to this clip. I think this thing is pretty incredible.
This can help me change my mind about some things. I'm a white male, and I am prejudiced. And the reason it is something I wasn't taught, but it's kind of something that I learned. When I open up the papers, I get very discouraged at what young black males are doing to each other and the crime rates. I understand that they live in an environment with a lot of drugs. You have to get money for drugs, and it's a deep issue that goes beyond that. But when I have these different fears, and I don't want my fears to come true, so I try to avoid that, and I come off as being prejudiced, but I just have fears. I don't like to be forced to like people. I like to be led to like people through example, and what can I do to change, to be a better American?
Heather McGhee.
Thank you so much for being honest and for opening up this conversation, because it's simply one of the most important ones we have to have in this country. We are not a country that is united because we are all one racial group that all descended from one tribe in one community. That is actually, I think, what makes this country beautiful, but it's our challenge. We are the most multiracial, multi-ethnic, wealthy democracy in the world. And so asking the question you asked, how do I get over my fears and my prejudices, is the question that all of us, and I will say people of all races and ethnicities and backgrounds, hold these fears and prejudices. Most of them are actually unconscious, right? You'll say to yourself, I'm not prejudiced, but of course we all have them. And so your ability to just say, this is what I have these fears and prejudices, and I want to get over them, is one of the most powerful things that we can do right now at this moment in our history. So thank you. So what can you do? Get to know black families who are not all, and not even any majority, are involved in crime and gangs. Turn off the news at night because we know from, sorry, Greta, keep the news open in the morning. But
we're not delivering the news, so it's fine.
Because we know that actually nightly news and many media markets that have been studied actually overrepresents African American crime and underrepresents crimes that happen by white people. Join a church if you are a religious person that is a black church or a church that is interracial. Start to read about the history of the African American community in this country. Foster conversation in your family and in your neighborhood where you're asking exactly those kinds of questions. This fear of communities that we do not live near, we are still a very, very segregated country. Millions of white Americans live in places where they rarely see anyone of a different race. This fear and set of ideas that we only get from the worst possible news, it's tearing us apart. And we know that in order to be our name means the people of the nation, demos. In order to be a demos that is united across lines of race and class and gender and age, we have to foster relationships. We have to get to know who one another actually is. And we are always, I think, as Americans, surprised when we build relationships across race.
Let's get in Leneda.
Look at that.
What do I think of that? I think it's interesting.
It was one-sided, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But the woman did say, in effect, all races, all ethnicities have prejudice. And they do. I mean, you agree with that for sure, right?
Oh, totally. I think anybody can have prejudices and anybody can be racist.
And of course, there are those white and black that say, but it's okay for people of color to have prejudice because they deserve to, which is complete nonsense. But I guess overall to me, if you think about this, and I'm this guy, please help me not be racist. I mean, okay, I get all that, but for people to actually have a conversation, I think was what was kind of impacted me about this. And maybe again, maybe this woman's just using this guy. Maybe I'm being naive, but it just would appear to me when you think of that kind of dialogue versus what's going on in the streets, right?
Yeah.
Ferguson and others later, Milwaukee of late, and what goes on. In terms of some of the things I read that are said about people of color. I mean, it just seems to me that unless you do have kind of a dialogue at some point, things are never going to get better, and they probably won't anyway. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being foolish. I mean, there's always, since the beginning of mankind, there's been racism, I suspect, and through Egypt and the Jews and Asia, and there probably always will be, right? But I mean,
yeah.
What do we do? Do we just give up? And
no, I definitely think it was interesting. Like it's not you never hear this in this manner on anymore. So I thought it was a very interesting clip.
Yeah, because I mean, if it's on a talk show, right, or if it's on CNN or MSNBC or even Fox, I mean, they'd have been screaming at each other.
Oh, yeah. Everybody would be screaming at each other. White privilege would have gotten thrown around some more. It's just... Yeah.
Check your white privilege.
Yeah, basically. So I thought it was very... I really liked the clip.
Did you see the story about the New York fire captain that leading a double life?
No, I did not.
By day... He is New York Fire Department Captain Kasim Ryan.
Okay.
Okay. I think he's a 20-year vet. He's just really well-respected, well-liked guy.
Mm-hmm.
By night, he's an anti-cop rapper named Ka, K-A.
Okay.
Been doing it for a while. And I say anti-cop only. This is a story at a New York Post. During an interview in 2015, he explained to whomever, quote, "I'm living two lives, man. I'm trying to be who I am in the day, and then, listen to this, trying to feed my soul at night with being the artist that I want to be." Purposely have this after the clip we just heard.
Mm-hmm.
So at night, Jessica, he tries to feed his soul, right?
Okay.
Here's one example of Ka feeding his soul in a 2013 lyric. Keep in mind, this guy by day, Captain, Fire Department of New York, quote, "F them cops and SWATs with night vision. I see your traps, your plots to dead us. Y'all rolling with Kojaks, nigga, I got Berettas."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. In a 2013 tweet, by the way, he's at Brownsville Ka. This is his Twitter handle. He asked his followers to, quote, name 5 different words we referred to police as in hip hop. Among the winners, jakes, pigs, swine, fuzz, and them bitches. And Ka, yeah, he liked them all, as in like.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about that? I mean, just stopping right there. Is that okay for him to do what he does in the day and then do particularly that at night?
I mean, he has the freedom to do what he wants.
He does.
As long as he doesn't, actually incite violence on a police officer, then I guess, that's okay. You can be as much of a jackass as you want.
I mean, that certainly doesn't help, because, that's been talked about for years, this notion of obviously more well-known hip-hop artists, but about, killing cops and whatever, bitches and, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's not completely healthy.
Yeah.
And we do know that some folks listen to that stuff and it kind of, whatever. But anyway, Ed Mullins, this guy, it doesn't make any difference, but he's president of Sergeants Benevolent Association, believes, and this is his kind of take on it, quote, "The biases he portrays through his music are indicative of what he believes or feels." That may or may not be true, right? I mean, you can't do hip hop and have it all like rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. You have to have some edge.
And he says, as a New York firefighter, he should be trying to bring people together rather than fracture relationships, especially in communities of color. I believe that part. I agree with him on that part.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really working that's feeding that young disenfranchised black fellow that wants to hear that stuff. Anyway, incidentally, he does okay during the day. He makes what did he make last year? $148,558.
Wow.
He has a website, by the way, and the website is Ka, just K-A. He sells vinyl records. He sells CDs and T-shirts, and he's got PayPal and everything set up. So he's been doing this for a while, and he's fairly known, I guess, in certain communities. But I just find that kind of interesting. It's kind of like a Batman thing, Bruce Wayne by day. And
yeah, something's going on there.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. Tell you what else is interesting, but we're under 30 seconds, is maybe we'll talk about this on Friday. The rent that Trump is charging for his headquarters at Trump Tower, now that donors are paying for it, out of control. Also out of control.
With the devil inside, and I be a good man.
So anyway, thanks you guys for listening.
Without you.
Say goodbye to the city. I think it's time to get away.